Cade Klubnik won me over with growth, not hype. We'll talk about it right now on Locked on Clemson.
You are Locked on Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked on Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 The Roar, Clemson flagship station. Thank you so much for making Locked on Clemson your first listen of the day. We're part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Big salute out there to my everydayers. You know who you are. You know how we do it here on Locked On. Exclusive Clemson content Monday through Friday, every single week. And if you're new to the show, welcome in. Hope you enjoy it. 75% of viewers are not yet subscribed. So what are you waiting for? Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Today's show, we're going to talk about Cade Klubnik. We got another basketball player on the football team that you may not have known about. And then we'll continue our individual opponent player spotlight, looking at LSU's possibly one of their most reliable defenders that Clemson will face on August 30th. But as we get into it, there was a recent article over on ESPN from Cade Klubnik talking about how a lot of the national media and fans really didn't continue to support and back Cade as he was a younger quarterback at Clemson. A lot of fans wanted Cade Klubnik out. They wanted him to transfer. They were looking for other options. Still reeling from no longer having Deshaun Watson, no longer having Trevor Lawrence, and honestly, no longer having Kelly Bryant or Taj Boyd. Any of those guys were guys that you wish that you would have back. After DJ Uiagalelei's experiment kind of was a bust, and I don't mean a bust in any way, shape, or form from the win-loss record. I mean, miraculously enough, DJ could not replicate the same amount of wins that he did with Clemson, and the fan base was extremely frustrated with his lack of ability to continue the success that was set from Watson and Lawrence. Cade Klubnik coming off of DJU, anything would have been better than DJU, but he had his own set of problems when he first started out. Mickey Plyler and I, we were on the radio one day, and everybody still brings this up to me about how Mickey said he's like the puppy dog, the cute puppy that you can't wait to take home. You can't wait to play with and get all the new toys and just have this great experience, but he's going to pee on the rug. He's going to chew up your couch or your shoes. That's the way young Cade Klubnik was. And from a media perspective, I looked back at some of the posts that I did. Would you say that my posts were critical? I think some Clemson homers would definitely say I was Cade Klubnik critical. I know some of my co-hosts over on 105.5 The Roar would say that I was too critical of Cade Klubnik. I think Cade Klubnik got what he deserved based on the performances he was having on the field. Now, I never went out and said, hey, they need to get a transfer portal quarterback, because realistically, we know that a transfer portal quarterback is going to have his own amount of baggage. And we know that they're typically going to cost a lot of money. So those are two things that I don't really want to get involved with: baggage, drama, money. Those are all three things I want to avoid. And the best thing is to see Cade Klubnik develop. Now, a lot of fans wanted Cade to develop much faster than he did. But when you look back at 2022, 2023, 2024, and now 2025, Cade has slowly progressed over time and continued to get better and better and better. He didn't win me over with being a 5-star recruit. He didn't win me over with being an Elite 11, performer, MVP. He didn't win me over with winning ACC championship games, because even those still had some question marks. He won me over with the little things that I see him doing better and better, especially in 2024. We saw what we saw from Cade Klubnik late in the season. There were still sprinkled frustrations here or there, but he progressed and got better and started to be more calm in the pocket. And that helped him make better throws. He was one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the country. And so I believe that that's the kind of guy that's going to show up in 2025. Now, Cade says Dabo Swinney has always been with him, always had his back, always believed in him while everybody else didn't. And that's what you want from a head coach. That's what you expect from Dabo Swinney. I don't get paid to sugarcoat Cade Klubnik or sugarcoat anything. Somebody got on the comments recently and said, Morgan, I don't think you should be saying these things about Ian Shefflin or what players that could torch Clemson from the LSU sideline. No, I'm going to say those things because I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel and be honest with you. I know I'm a little bit of a nervous fan. I'll admit that. But I'm not going to go into this game against LSU or in 2025 thinking they're going to be, 15-0, undefeated, best team of all. That's what LSU fans are doing right now. They have the best players in all the transfer portal ever made. They have the best recruits ever to be recruited, and they've all going to be, gelled and be cousins within a few months of just knowing each other. But I don't have that perspective. I feel as if it would be disingenuous for me to tell you that everything's going to be great. But I also want to not be that guy who's just constantly picking out all the bad of Cade. I know sometimes when I do my passing charts over on X, and you'll see them this year, I know sometimes those can be perceived as I'm being critical. And I've never really understood that. I've never really understood how a chart that I literally just make that is a representation of what happened on the field is some sort of, overly critical piece. To me, it is just a historical snapshot of that game. And it doesn't tell everything. You see dots on a field. That's where I plotted it based on where the ball and the receiver were at the time of intended completion or completion. It's not the whole story behind that. It's not the route that was ran. It's not even the side of the hash where the football was. So there's a lot of things to be interpreted from those charts. But I have come out and said a few times, like, hey, everybody was really big on Cade when he won the Syracuse game in 2023. Well, when I went back and watched that game, there were a lot of risky decisions. There were a lot of near interceptions in that game. When you fast forward to 2024, the Pittsburgh game, that's where I felt like Cade Klubnik pulling that zone read and scoring a touchdown 50 yards down the field, not running to the out of bounds, not sliding too short and getting a turnover. That showed his maturity, his decisiveness, his decision-making in the moment. The South Carolina game, for the most part, they were doing well until the very end. That costly interception stalled them. He did not do what the coaches wanted him to do. He did a check down instead of throwing it into the end zone. If he would have thrown it in the back of the end zone, they would have had another down. So you still see glimpses of like Cade frustrating you. You still see glimpses of Cade not having his feet set. But I do feel that there's been a progression of development for Cade over time. Versus Texas, he really didn't have any running backs available. We knew Phil Maffa was beat up, and he was able to continue to fight against Texas in their house. A team, they scored 24 points against a team that was only holding people to 12.5 points per game. So I believe that Cade is making the development needed to get to the next level in the college football season. Now, how can he go even further? I talked about it yesterday about just being 10% better. That would be key for me. While the headlines may be you're with me or you're against me or whatever, at the end of the day, you have to call it like you see it. You see some things that you like from Cade. You see some things you'd like for him to kind of step away from. But overall, I'm more excited about Cade in 2025 because of the growth that he's had year over year over year. This is a level up year for him in 2025. This is a contract year for him to get into the NFL and possibly be a first round draft pick or a Heisman candidate. And while Cade Klubnik is definitely the headliner on the offense, I don't want you to sleep on one other two-sport star that you may not have remembered Clemson has. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface. On your laptop or your phone, Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization for your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. When I linked everything together for Monarch for the first time, I found 2 old subscriptions that I had completely forgotten about. One of them was a streaming service that I hadn't used since last bowl season. Canceling those saved me a ton of money, and it was easy to do in the app, and it actually basically offset the cost. So now I use Monarch Money to track all of my savings in one place. It's really awesome. You don't have to overthink it because the app does everything for you. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at Monarch Money with code LOCKEDONCollege. This episode is also brought to you by OpenPhone. If you're running a business, every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you needed a service. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait around? Probably not. You moved on. And that's why you need OpenPhone, so you never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications. For me, I need something like this because I'm balancing podcasting, being on the radio, my side gigs, juggling flying school and all this stuff, calls and texts. I am terrible to get in touch with, but with OpenPhone, I've separated my business with my personal stuff, and I don't need a second phone number. You get one number, everything for what you need. The best part, an AI agent can even help handle after-hours messages and even answer common questions for your customers. That way, I'm not losing leads and just because I'm not able to answer the phone immediately. See why over 60,000 businesses trust OpenPhone. They're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedoncollege. That's openphone.com/lockedoncollege. They'll even port over your existing numbers for free. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Everyone knows and talks about Ian Shefflin, even me. I mean, I've done probably multiple videos and podcasts on Ian Shefflin and what he brings to the football team from the basketball background. And he was an elite basketball player in the ACC, but he's not, especially in light of what's happened recently, he's not the only tight end that Clemson will use or be able to use. And he's also not the only tight end that has a basketball background. And I'm talking about Christian Bentinkerr. And he deserves a little bit of love and support so far too, because Clemson likely could be leaning on him, especially if they come out, shockingly enough, they could come out in a 2 tight end set against LSU, especially in the red zone. He could be used as a big time X factor in those short yardage situations. Now, I know what you're saying. They got all these opportunities and all these options at the wide receiver position. Why would they ever need more than one tight end? They don't even really need one tight end. And I get it. Yes, they do have a handful of wide receivers that you trust that are tall, short, across the middle to the outside, one-on-one. Yes, their wide receiver group is veteran guys that know what they're doing, that Cade Klubnik should trust. and they're a versatile group of guys in the wide receiver room. So yes, the first goal would probably to be get those wide receivers out open in space or get them matched up against a defender who's not ready, and then attack those mismatches out there. But if you're looking to use possibly a tight end or change up the looks for the defense to have to defend, you could come out with an Olsen Pat Henry and a Josh Sapp, or you could come out with an Olsen Pat Henry and maybe a Christian Bentinkerr in this situation. Now, I know Trey Green is for LSU. He's their big 6'7" guy, basketball player. So they're looking forward to seeing him. We'll probably see more of him just because LSU doesn't have a few veteran guys ahead of him, even though him and Bentinkerr were both in the same recruiting class, believe it or not. So while you may see him and you won't see Bentinkerr as much, really to me, that's just about recruiting and depth and what the players are on the staff or on the roster right now. Clemson has a few guys that are ahead of Bentinkerr. So that will kind of take away from some of the possible looks you'll see on August 30th. Maybe you'll see him later on as the season goes. I do believe your first two looks or the guys you'll see the most are Sapp and Olsen Pat Henry. But what if there are some specific design plays for Clemson's basketball/football player? He's a two-sport standout in Illinois. Get this, 2,000 points in basketball and 200 football receptions in the state. So, this guy is a two-way athlete for sure. Praised by analysts as having great route running, having soft hands, being extremely reliable. So he could be used in some two tight end sets if Clemson were to need to do that to kind of counter some of LSU's aggressive front seven that we know LSU is going to bring the heat for Clemson. So I'm just thinking of another option for the Tigers that's not just the traditional thing that you're thinking up front. LSU's got speed. Man, they know how to attack you. They have linebackers that you can trust for sure. Can you trust Bentinkerr against a guy like a Whit Weeks or a Tamarcus Cooley or an AJ Halsey? It'd be tough. Those guys know what they're doing. And I believe that they may have the upper hand as far as matchup to matchup, talent on talent, because we really haven't seen much of Christian Bentinkerr. But I did think it was fun to look at and say, while everybody's looking at this other basketball player in Ian Shefflin, Clemson has one themselves that really doesn't get talked about much. How will he be used? If he is out there, to me, he is more of that balance guy. He's a little bit thicker. So I would see him being a guy who could be in run blocking in scenarios like that. So even if there are two tight ends out there, or possibly maybe even shockingly three, that would be, to me, more set up for a quick release trick play action, or a goal line short yardage play that was designed for the running back as well. Maybe I'm missing it. You can tell me. But I do feel like we might see him a few times, not a ton, but we might see him a few times against LSU, maybe 3. Okay. Can you give me 3 impactful snaps? Can you give me 3, 4, maybe specific situations? Maybe just 2. Okay. Let's meet each other halfway and do 2 and say that he gets a red zone call or a play action call that maybe, just maybe, the LSU defenders are looking at the other guys on the outside or the running backs or whatever it may be. As an offensive coordinator, you got to use the talent that you have, but you also have to mix it up. You can't just constantly go to the same guys or what's expected preseason or pregame leading up into this matchup. You do have to throw in a few wrinkles here and there, especially in a matchup like this. This is not one where you can just test things or even go full vanilla, because you need to win this game. This is a huge out-of-conference matchup against an SEC opponent that both feel like are all national outlets feel like LSU and Clemson are a top 10 matchup and could potentially see each other again in the college football playoffs. So this is a huge matchup between two powerhouses from two different conferences, and both are Tigers, both are from Death Valleys, and they have a lot on the line as far as bragging rights for sure. And believe me, I don't want to come into work after a loss to the LSU Tigers. So whatever Clemson needs to do, whatever players they need to throw into the rotation, I think they need to use them because this is all, pull out all the stops, go for it. Don't leave anything, in the playbook, leave it all out on the field. It's going to be a great matchup August 30th. It's been crazy how quick the offseason has come and gone, because now we're just a few days away from getting into the first game of this season. I know you're excited as well. Speaking of those defenders, as we continue to talk about the defenders for LSU and what Clemson will face against, I wanted to take a look at one of those safeties in AJ Halsey, one of LSU's most reliable defenders. Let's talk about it after this.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up and college football isn't far behind. Whether you've got your eye on a big name quarterback or breakout running back, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in the game. I've used Prize Picks for multiple seasons now, and I love how quickly it is to lock in your lineup. Some mornings I go into the more or less, pick a few players, look at their stat projections, and before I've even had my first cup of Coke Zero, I go and check it out. And last season I had flex play that got 4 out of 5 and did really well, doubled my money. It was a game changer for me. The app is clean, the payouts are fast, and just like making the games more fun, it's really cool to be a part of, especially when you've got a good read on who's going to have a breakout game. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege. You get $50 off in lineups, $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. And this episode is also brought to you by FanDuel's August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling up your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even starts, this is your moment. I've had to plant my flag on a few things already with MVPs, but I'm going to tell you, I'm starting to feel really confident in Trevor Lawrence and how he's going to make a push for it this season. The schedule sets up well for him. He's got a few new weapons. Jacksonville could take that next step. And for Super Bowl pick, I love blue. So let me take Detroit Lions. You tell me what you think. They've got the coaching. They got the grit. They are not going to sneak up on anybody, though. FanDuel's Future Day is the perfect time to get in while the odds are still juicy. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Hey, before we jump into the final segment of the show, I got something special I wanted to talk to you about. Want even more Clemson content? Well, you can join the Locked On Clemson Insider Program. You'll get one-on-one access to me through text message, and you can send in your questions for special mailbag episodes, be part of the conversation with me all season long. There's even a 14-day free trial, so you can check it out risk-free. Just head over to the description in the link, or the link in the description of the video, and I'll put it in there for you so you can click on it and check it out. Come join me all season long. We can talk about all things Clemson as much as you want. All right, so as we finish up the show, thank you so much to the everydayers for being here with me to the final segment. But LSU, I want you to be the most informed Clemson fan going into the season, going into the first game of the season, because you don't need orange glasses. You don't need the sunshine pumping. You need realism, and you need to know exactly who to look out for on the LSU sideline. And one of those guys that I'm hearing a lot about in the message boards, hearing a lot about on the comments online and messaging me, is number 13, AJ Halsey. He's the most reliable defender in the LSU secondary. Clemson's wide receivers are going to have to go after him. They're going to have to test him to see exactly how SEC ready he is, because this is his first season in the SEC. He's coming from New Mexico originally. He was an all-conference dude, really, really reliable, had great first season, played almost every single game, did great for New Mexico. Coaches couldn't stop talking about him. He moved over and transferred to Houston in the Big 12 and had another monster 2 seasons with them, getting into all conference again. Now he's taking himself to LSU, to Baton Rouge for 2025, and he is making that jump to the next level. His strength is zone recognition. His strength is ball instincts. Clemson receivers like Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore, Tristan Smith, they are going to bring elite level athleticism and route running and top end speed. Has he been able to face wide receivers at that caliber yet? Now, he's probably faced a few here and there, but Clemson has a great group of wide receivers that I do believe are going to stress out LSU's secondary. And the fan base from LSU thinks that every single player that they got in the transfer portal is God's gift to LSU, God's gift to football, and is possibly a first-round draft pick if you ask them. But to me, being able to communicate, being able to play within the system, being able to hand off between different players is going to be difficult for somebody who has to just jump in to a new team, really now his third team of his short college career. So is it a challenge for him? Will it be a challenge for him? Yes, I do believe so. I do believe that Clemson's wide receiver group is stacked, probably one of the best in the country, maybe top. Can you give me top 6, 7 wide receiver group in the country? Has he faced a group of guys that is this athletic, that is this veteran, that knows what they're doing, that is on the same page with Cade Klubnik and their quarterback? He may not have. He's extremely reliable. But one area where I've heard from the message boards, I've looked and dug in kind of some articles about him and some analyst views on him. One area where you could possibly exploit him is in that true man-to-man coverage. If you can get that far back there, he's going to try to play that umbrella, that blanket, that deep zone. He's going to try to stay in the zone. He's very, very good at sticking to what he is assigned to do. He is extremely disciplined. But can you get vertical enough and cross enough to put him in a situation where he's not at the advantage anymore, where it's just him one-on-one, deep to the outside or deep across the middle? That's where I believe Clemson could hurt him. You could hurt him in Tyler Brown doing that. Bryant Wesco's known to do that. TJ Moore is known to do that. Tristan Smith, we believe he will be able to attack as well, as much as we're hearing about him. So I do believe that Garrett Riley has the weapons, Cade Klubnik has the weapons to exploit him vertically on these deep routes and crossers. One other thing I want to talk about with the SEC. Everybody gets the SEC love and the SEC bump. Let me tell you what the SEC bump is. He went to New Mexico, okay? He was 5'10", originally listed 5'10". He got, on 24/7, they'll say 5'11". They said 5'11" at Houston in the Big 12. Now, all of a sudden at LSU, he's 6 foot tall. Okay. So, he continues to keep growing. I don't know, but I do like the matchup against a taller guy like a Tristan Smith or a Bryant Wesco. If you get him in one-on-one, you could stress him out. He does not like to be outside of the bracket. He does not like to be outside of the zone where he is stuck one-on-one, having to keep up or having to be in a contested situation. He is a little bit shorter than what he's going to face against with Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore, and Tristan Smith if they can get to that deep second level. He's smart, though. He's not super flashy. He's smart. He's got a bunch of interceptions on his career. He's got a bunch of pass breakups. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. So do you test him or not? I mean, there could be the theory of, hey, don't test him at all. Go away from the guy that's proven. But I'm looking at him as a guy who is one that is obviously somebody as a coach you're going to trust. He's been successful wherever he's step foot in the door. So Halsey is one of those guys. If anybody to trust, it would be him to hold up to the next level. But I don't think you can ignore him, especially in the first game of the season. You got to test it. You got to go after him. He might be LSU's most reliable, steady hand deep in the secondary, but Clemson's receivers are extremely tough. They're a difficult group to face against anyone. You can talk about this to me, Clemson, ACC, whatever, but national analysts across the board agree that Clemson's wide receiver group is one of the best in the country. And it's not just me with my orange-covered glasses. So the fact that LSU has, in my opinion, a bunch of brand new defenders in the secondary. You have 5 in your starting first and second string that were not on the team last season. So you cannot tell me 5 out of 9 guys. So more than 50% of your guys that you had last season were not on the team last season. You cannot tell me that they're going to just work together like their cousins. And there's not going to be any kind of issues. There's not going to be any kind of handoff problems or communication problems, especially when you're playing a true road game in Clemson. To me, something's going to happen there. Can Clemson exploit it or not? Should Clemson exploit or go after, not necessarily exploit, but should they go after A.J. Halsey, considering he could be one of the more reliable guys? Or should they turn around and go after maybe Tamarcus Cooley or someone else? Or a Jardin Gilbert. Those guys also extremely talented as well. Look, I've never said LSU's not talented, but I want to say and make my point clear that Clemson's wide receiver group is one that, as a Clemson fan, you should be able to trust, and you should be able to expect that Garrett Riley and Cade Klubnik are going to attack every angle possible. Hey, thank you so much for sticking with me to the very end, my everydayers. I appreciate it. Locked on Clemson is my one that I'm so excited to be a part of. Now we're getting into the season. We're actually talking about real college football that's coming up just in a few days. So it's really, really awesome to finally get to talk about this matchup. But thank you so much for making Locked on Clemson your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has all the latest rumors, portal entries, signings, be the most informed fan on the college football changes and the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, Tiger fans, I'll see you tomorrow, and I'll see you at the top of the hill.